Thanks, Laila. Thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this as well.
Yeah.
By the way, am I spotlighted? Just want to make sure
Yes.
that that's happening. Okay, because you're still spotlighted for me, but that's great. I don't like to see myself anyway when I talk. Well, thank you so much for organizing this. It just makes my heart so happy to see where almost 200 women come together, to really celebrate womanhood. As you know, my latest work is all about fierce self-compassion. And I'll just talk a little bit about it before leading my first practice. For those of you who may not know what that refers to, so compassion, when we think about compassion, we usually think of its tender form, which is warm, nurturing, caring, accepting. And compassion is also associated with the female gender role. That's why at any of the workshops I teach, about 85% of the people who show up are women, because compassion is seen as a kind of a female thing, a woman thing. And also compassion is seen as something directed toward others, but not oneself. And so although it does have this tender form, you might kind of say a prototypical mothering energy, accepting, loving, warm, people forget about the other powerful female energy, which is I like to call mama bear. And we all know it, whether we're mothers or not. We know the force of love, the actual power of love when it's aimed at protecting someone we love or alleviating suffering. It's not soft and wimpy. It can be incredibly powerful, incredibly brave, and incredibly courageous. Unfortunately, from my point of view, what's happened is patriarchy, power inequality, has socialized this fierceness out of women. We're allowed to do that maybe for our kids sometimes, but what we know from gender role socialization is people don't like a really powerful woman, right? A really competent woman, a woman who's really agentic. They actually have names for a woman like that. And I think the history of why that's the case is because, well, it's kept women in our places. And hopefully all the women on this call are with me and saying, no more, right? That's what the Me Too movement is. That's what the women's liberation movement is. That's about this movement for equity. We will not be silenced. We will not be harassed sexually. We will not we will not agree that our needs are less important than those of others, right? This is all a part of compassion. This is all a part of love. This is what I call fierce self-compassion, the power that stands up for justice, for equality, for protection, that says our needs are important too. And then also motivates change, right? Because although we can accept ourselves, we don't want to accept all the things in the world we live in. Global warming, power inequality, racism, sexism, there's so much that needs to be changed. And part of love is trying to alleviate suffering, which means trying to make change. Again, we are completely unconditionally worthy as we are. We don't need to change in order to be worthy. But maybe there's some behaviors that could use a little work, or again, certainly situations that need to be changed. So that's really kind of the driving energy behind my latest work, which is all about fierce self-compassion. So, and I'll talk more about it after I lead this meditation. But the opening meditation is called Fierce Friend. And what we're going to do is we are going to call up an image of a supremely powerful, fierce, loving, compassionate being who's going to come to us, and we might even have a little dialogue. It's really more of a guided visualization than a meditation. Okay, it'll take about maybe 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. So please sit in a posture that you can hold comfortably for 20 or 30 minutes. It helps to have your legs uncrossed, touching the floor. Right, and back straight, and really try to hold your back in a way that embodies this power, this grace. Right? So you may be tired, so you can lean against the back of your chair, but really feel the energy rising up your spine. Let your body posture express this kind of powerful, caring force. And then closing your eyes. All right, and just take a few deep breaths. And let your breathing return to normal. And I'd invite you to feel your own presence, your own aliveness. See if you can actually tap into the energy that's flowing through your body right now. Right, so we're trying to cultivate a particular type of energy, a powerful energy, but also one that is loving, caring. So what I'd invite you to do is see if you can put a fist over your heart with either your left or right hand, whatever feels more comfortable. Not a tight fist, but a fist that symbolizes strength and courage. And place it right over the center of your chest. Right, you might notice as you do that, you roll your shoulders back a little bit to really embody this noble stance of courage, bravery, strength. And then place your other hand over your fist, right? This is the hand, the gentle hand of love and acceptance and tenderness. And the invitation is to allow these two energies, the fierce and the tender, to mix, to mingle, to merge and integrate inside of you. Strength with love. Joan Halifax refers to this as strong back, soft front. And this is the essence of the feminine. And so you can return your hands down to your lap for the meditation, or you can keep them here if you like. But if ever you feel a little disconnected, know that you can always adopt this fist with hand gesture, the strength with love gesture to kind of reconnect you to the energy that we're looking to cultivate. Okay, and so now what I would invite you to do is to imagine yourself in a place that feels very safe, very secure, but very comfortable as well, and beautiful. So maybe this is a cozy living room with a fire crackling, with beautiful surroundings where you feel safe and protected, warm, at ease. Or maybe you're outside, maybe you're on a beach with the waves, the powerful ocean, the waves of the powerful ocean crashing, a warm sun on your face, a cool breeze. Or maybe you're in the forest, maybe among these big, giant redwood trees. Again, a symbolic representation of the feminine, these giant, strong trees, feeling safe and protected. Or coming up with any image that works for you. Again, so what we're looking for is feeling ourselves in a place where we feel safe, protected, and at ease. And allow yourself really just to soak in the environment. Let yourself be held by this safe, beautiful place that you're in. And also make sure you include yourself in this image, right? And notice how are you standing? Are you sitting? Maybe you're in a meditation pose. Maybe you're on a chair. Maybe you're lying in a hammock, whatever feels right. So imagine yourself in this safe place. And soon you're going to receive a visitor, right? A visitor that I'm going to call your fierce friend, your fierce friend. This is someone who's very strong, very powerful, very wise. And yet is also incredibly tender and loving and caring. A being who really embodies the fierce and the tender, mother and mama bear, protective and with intention, type of force that's really caring, that's aimed directly at the alleviation of suffering. Right. And so when you think of this fierce friend, what image arises for you? Maybe it actually, maybe your friend resembles someone that you've known. Maybe you've been fortunate enough to have a grandmother or someone in your life, an actual friend, who really embodied these qualities of fierceness and tenderness, strength, love, protection. Right. Or maybe it's someone from your imagination, like a warrior goddess, or a leopard, or a jaguar, a big cat, also embodies this feminine, fierce energy. Doesn't have to be female either. It could be any gender, any animal form, human form. It could be completely mythic or real. Just see if you can don't overthink it if you can. Just see what image arises from the depth of your being of a fierce, powerful, loving, protective friend and ally. And you're going to meet with your friend. And so you have a choice. Either you can go out of your safe place to meet your friend, or you can invite them in. It's really just whatever feels safest and most comfortable to you. But I'd invite you to imagine meeting with your friend. So again, imagining yourself and this amazing being. Just the right distance. It feels comfortable. Allowing yourself to really experience the energy, the power, the love of this friend. Right? There's nothing you need to do for this moment. Just allow yourself to soak it in. Soak in the radiance of this fierce and compassionate being. And this fierce friend, knows you, right? Maybe you don't know that you've met before, maybe you have met before, but regardless, this being, imagine that they are all knowing, right? Knows your history, how you were raised, what you've gone through, the challenges you've had in your life. What you're going through now. Right? And can hold it all with just such tremendous compassion and wisdom. It truly loves you just as you are. Strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures. And your friend also knows those areas of your life where maybe it's really good for you to speak up or to assert yourself or to draw boundaries or maybe take a risk, be brave. Right? And so your friend would like to tell you something, which is exactly what you need to hear right now so that you can fully embody your own fierce and tender self. So that you can really become everything that you are, realize your potential, blossom. Your friend has such confidence in you. But of course, also wants you to be safe, doesn't want you to do anything that is potentially harmful, right? So it may not look the way you think it looks, this advice from your friend. It's really about what you need to hear to be safe, but also, to be your full, fierce self. And you might even imagine having a conversation with your fierce friend, right? You can express your concerns, your worries, or maybe your excitement. And know that you will be listened to, taken seriously, validated. But most of all, protected. Your fierce friend wants to protect you, make sure that you are safe and that you are well and happy. Your friend may also want to give you a gift, some sort of symbolic gift, maybe just materializes in your hand, something that really symbolizes this caring force, this tender fierceness, something you can keep with you at all times. Does anything appear? And if no words or no gift appears, that's completely fine too. Maybe the gift is simply the presence of your fierce friend. So give yourself just a few more moments to really bask in this presence, this strength, this power. And now I would invite you to recognize that your fierce friend actually lies within you, right? This came from your own imagination. Everything you felt, this power, this energy, this love, this protection, this came from you. Right? Your fierce friend lies within. This is an energy that you can access anytime you need to. You just have to intentionally call upon it. And it will be here for you. Just like a good friend. And so now allowing the image to fade away. And while keeping your eyes closed, just come back to your own body in the here and now. So just feeling your body, maybe feeling the residue of that visualization in your body. Feeling your own presence. And once again, just remembering you can call on this part of yourself, your fierce friend, whenever you need. And then when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes.
Thank you so much, Kristin. That was so beautiful. Just what I needed today. And really, thank you so much for agreeing to answer some questions for us. So the first question I've got is, how does this fierce friend practice fit into the whole model of mindful self-compassion?
Yeah, so we're actually, for those of you who are interested, we're actually developing a secondary course that comes after mindful self-compassion, the basic course that focuses more on this fierce side of self-compassion. And the reason it's a secondary course is because really, in many ways, the foundation is the tender acceptance. Because if you don't accept yourself, if you feel unworthy, if you don't feel worthy even of kindness, you aren't going to feel worthy of protection either, right? And also, the fierce stuff can get into things like anger and really, stuff that's a little more challenging, a little more activating. So I think we really do need the foundation, the basis of the core self-compassion skills first. At least it's helpful. You don't have to, but I think it's helpful. So that there is some fierceness kind of sprinkled through the mindful self-compassion program, but we're going to make it much more explicit. Actually, Natalie, who's going to be talking to you later, and Laila, well, you as well, have been working on this, trying to develop a full 8-week course that's focused specifically on developing these skills.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. So here's a question that's a little bit more in depth. So most women think about compassion as being tender and soft.
Yes.
And this is also, expectations of a lot of families, cultures, societies, right?
Yes.
Often they're imposed on us.
Yes.
And it's really where we're asked to be soft and kind and understanding, supportive, maybe even obedient at work, at home.
Yes.
However, that's limiting us, right?
Yes.
And it's really keeping us from fully and deeply being this person that we may be and getting our voices out. So how can self-compassion help us to really transcend some of these expectations?
Well, it's absolutely key, right? And so if this happens in every culture, some cultures more than others. And so I'm just going to say it. There's a reason gender role socialization socializes women to be this way. It's power inequality, right? So I'm just, you may not agree with me, but I'm just going to say it, right? We have to recognize where this comes from. Now, not saying that there isn't a tremendous beauty and value to this tenderness, this nurturing, right? The ability to raise our children, to do this with our friends, our loved ones, our partners. It's beautiful. It is essential, but it can't be the only energy. I talk about balance between yin and yang. So tenderness without fierceness can become complacent or subordinate, right? Also, but fierceness without tenderness, which I have to say is most males have been socialized to be, can be aggressive, right? It can be like, just exploitative as well. So we really need balance. So what to do about this? Okay, so you may agree with this, but what to do about it? Well, and this is an important question because I would like to say everyone just speak up and, protest and all that, but actually it may not be safe. The bottom line of self-compassion is safety, and we need to be wise about it. So if we're going to get a lot of backlash, we're going to lose our jobs, or we're going to, be cut off from our families, we don't want to just speak out in a way that's going to actually end up harming us. What we do need to do, though, however, is internally understand what's what. Okay, because so much of sexism is internalized. We go along with it. We believe it. We project it onto other women. So if we know internally that we have every right, that our needs count too, that we have the right to be treated with respect, that we do have this fierce, powerful energy, then, at least we start here, and then we can start to change things externally, in a wise way, right? So in some countries, so you look at the Me Too movement, for years and years, I think maybe we just weren't ready to have it. And then for whatever reason, the cultural conditions shifted so that we could have the Me Too movement, and really powerful men were being brought down as women said, it's not okay. It can't happen anymore. No. And for whatever reason, the culture was in the right place. That could happen. And there may be other places where it couldn't. So again, I'm not saying, lose your job or have your family cut you off. That's not safe. And that's actually not self-compassionate. But yeah, so really starting with yourself, understanding that you have every single right to speak up, that your voice counts, your voice matters, that your needs count, and then just doing what you can with wisdom. I mean, wisdom is a huge part of this. Doing what you can with wisdom to change the things you can. How you raise your daughters, how you raise your sons, if you're a parent, is one way you can try to affect small scale change if large scale change isn't possible. But I don't know, I think women around the world, we're in a new place. Partly, I think because we saw the success of the Me Too movement. I think things are changing. They may not change as quickly as we want. But what's really key is that we band together. If you look at the gender role socialization literature, women are even more powerful enforcers of the gender norms that women should be tender and not fierce than men are. Women are especially likely to dislike fierce, powerful women. Why? Because we've internalized this idea that, well, that's not what a real woman should be like. So a big part of it is women with other women trying to say, hey, this isn't right, it's not true, starting to change things kind of among women. And then I think if you look at all the big social movements, they come from women banding together. There's a reason we call it Me Too, Me Too, or Black Lives Matter, or any big social movement comes from solidarity with other people. So we aren't an isolated single individual. So I could go on and on, but those are some of my thoughts on it. It's a complex question. But the bottom line, I want to say one more thing. Another thing, this is actually what tender self-compassion gives you. People won't like you as much if you're fierce. I'm pretty fierce. And sometimes people don't like me for it. I'm just going to say it. It actually got me into trouble at work. I mean, luckily I had enough other stuff going for me that I was okay. But we can't pretend that everyone's just going to love it and you think, oh, that's great. Some people may call you the B word or not like your fierce energy. But what my self-compassion practice gave me is I like myself. I'm not dependent on other people liking me for my sense of self-worth. My sense of self-worth comes from the inside. My sense of self-worth comes from self-compassion, unconditional self-acceptance. And the more you can give yourself unconditional self-acceptance, the more you can take risks and not care so much about whether or not other people like you. Again, within reason. You don't want to alienate all your friends and family. You need wisdom in this. But yeah, there may be some backlash. And, I think if we're going to be agents of change, we have to be willing to take some backlash. And that's all I'll say on that topic. That's a lot.
Actually, I was going to ask you another question.
Feel free to add into this, Laila. I mean, my opinion isn't more valid than anyone else's. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this was really beautiful. And you gave us so many examples of how to really take this into a societal way, into a cultural way, and make cultural changes, right? So what about if we kind of step back a little? What are some ways that we individually can empower our voices with balance of fierce and tender?
Yeah, well, so
they're really doing this in daily life.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of practices that I developed. It's in my book, Fierce Self-Compassion. We'll do some more in the 8-week protocol. But it does take some intention, right? Because again, we've been socialized just for the tender. And it can feel really uncomfortable. For instance, being comfortable with anger take some work. Being comfortable with this real powerful energy. Some people just, I think maybe for whatever reason, have a little more of one than the other. I do think we need to intentionally cultivate balance, but paying attention to it, asking yourself, what do I need right now? And actually, sometimes maybe we need to draw a boundary, or we need to say no, or we need to speak up. But if you don't ask yourself what you need, you'll never even begin to answer the question if you don't even ask it first.
Yeah. So
But there are things
asking
you can do, like
ourselves what
body
we need
posture.
first.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
body posture, touch,
Mhm.
words. If any words of like kind of strength came up from your fierce friend, you can cultivate words, encouragement. You might think, what would I say to my daughter if she said she was being picked on at school, right? Something like that. There are ways we can access this kind of mama bear energy, but we may have to do it a little intentionally.
And then, so asking ourselves, what would I say to my daughter? What would I say to someone I really care about? And then
Yes.
turning it and applying it to myself.
Yes, yes, because we do
Yeah.
have access to mama bear. I mean, it's been
Mhm.
socialized out of us, but there are contexts when you want to see a force of nature, you see a mother protecting her children, and that's kind of the one context when we've been allowed to keep this fierceness and we have access to it. And so in a way,
Yeah.
self-compassion is the type of reparenting ourselves. And it's
Mm.
not just the tender nurturing, it is that, and it is also that fierce, powerful, protective energy as well. So, and again, this is whether or not we have actual children. This is just, I think, an energy that's, I think it's in all people, but because this is a gathering of women, I'm gonna talk about people who identify as women, because it is there in gender role socialization in that one specific context of mama bear. So it's something that we can have access to.
Yeah. And really apply it to our own selves individually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And could you speak to the different types of fierceness? For example, the motivating and so forth.
Yes. Well, so there are at least 3 types. There are probably a lot more. So tender self-compassion is more one energy because it's about acceptance. It's more like mindfulness. It's just kind of this accepting of ourselves and the present moment experience. Again, even if things need change, we have to accept the fact that it is the way it is, even if actually before we can make change. So that's more the stillness, the acceptance. But then the fierce energy is taking action. And so there's at least 3 ways, but again, there's probably infinite ways you can take action to alleviate suffering. So one is protection, drawing boundaries, saying no, standing up for yourself. One is meeting our own needs. So, my research, I find women have slightly less self-compassion than men, even though they've got more compassion than others than men. Because we've been told that we're only valuable if we sacrifice ourselves. A good woman sacrifices herself as if somehow our needs don't count. So taking action to meet our needs, not over others. It's not like being selfish. It's just saying, I count too. And as a matter of fact, I can't continue to give if I don't replenish my own needs as well. So meeting our own needs and then motivating change. Absolutely key. If we're going to alleviate suffering, there's a lot that needs to change. So again, we are unconditionally worthy of kindness, compassion, and concern as we are, broken, flawed, wherever we are, the mess that we are. And if we care, we're going to try to do what we can to help change things in a way that's healthier. Behaviors and situations, our intrinsic worth, it's intrinsically worthy. What can I say? If that makes sense.
Yeah. And we don't have to say I'm worthy because XYZ.
Exactly.
I am worthy, period.
Yeah. I'm not worthy because people like me or because I look a certain way or because I've achieved a certain thing, which most people actually, is very common. That's really more self-esteem. My self-esteem is dependent on being popular or looking a certain way or again, success. It's a fair weather friend. Self-esteem is a fair weather friend. This is an unconditional friend there for you in good times and in bad, and really who has your back, which also means saying no, drawing boundaries, and standing up for yourself.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And I know there's been so many things popping up in the chat here.
And by the way, I would love women just to sit around in circles and just talk about this stuff because we all have experiences with what happens when you show your fierce side. How do people react? What's allowed, what's not allowed. This is a cultural conversation we need to be having.
I love what you just said. This is a cultural conversation we need to be having, but this is also something we can sit around our dining table. We can sit at the coffee shop and do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Starting with me, but also our whole culture.
our friends,
That's how we
yeah.
do our change, right? Social change, personal
Yes.
change starts in community, starts with conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you starting this conversation for us today. This is really beautiful. And I know our time is up for this session, but I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you, Kristin. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. And I know there's been so many people in the chat also offering their gratitude.
Yes, I wish I could look at all the comments and answer them all, but and thank you so much for gathering all the women on this call. It's just, again, it's really important that we come together in community.
Yeah, and I really want to thank you as well for doing the Fierce Compassion course. I think it's so absolutely needed. And all the ways that you've been a role model to so many of us. So thank you.
Well, what I can really model is being a mess.
Perfect.
If anyone like falls into the illusion that somehow I got all my, you know what together, don't fall into that trap. I'm still as much of a mess as I ever was, but I'm a compassionate mess, right? So I've learned to hold the failures and the mistakes and all of it with compassion. And it's enough. It really is enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah. And that acceptance of being a compassionate mess and I'm enough.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
Wonderful.
I do need to go,
Thank
but
you so much.
have a wonderful retreat day. Thank you, Laila.